Hey everyone, Internet PCS book reader here. Today I want to talk about Another Person by Kang Hwagil. Before I go into the story, this is a novel that the main story explores as so content warning for a few descriptive assault. The story itself opens with introducing us to the main character Jani, someone who had gotten enough fame because her story got viral. She was assaulted by her boyfriend at the time and has gotten into a trial. She won the trial because all the evidence was there, but the punishment was just some fine that doesn't include her protection. So she thought making the story go public could help her feel more safe, but unfortunately for Jani, fame doesn't just attract the level-headed people. Especially since the story got viral on the internet, the place where the most chronically online people live their life. So she got a lot of anti-social messages that is attacking her for what happened. And not only that, the company she works at are of course angrier about the bad reputation they got because the guy who worked there had a high position that they need to give him a paid leave and she needs to go. The book can be difficult to read, not just because the topic itself is already a heavy discussion, but the main character is also what can be considered a weak person. But from her we can explore further into the self-destructive talks that can easily make people spiral down to bad places. She goes out less and less at the beginning and becoming more friendly with junk foods, and she also cannot stop reading online hate comments despite her friend's constant reminder, until one day she read a specific comment that is calling her as a vacuum cleaner, a nickname used in her college day to a friend that has passed away due to an accident at school. From here we go to the meat of the story. The dark academia part of the story of what happens back then to the students grasping for their identity. For example, the student that died in the past, Han Yuri, is considered an e-seeker in campus, a pretty girl with low self-esteem who cannot say no if you just push her enough. The book describes her as such. They thought they could sleep with her whenever they wanted if they only set their minds to it. They just hadn't had the opportunity yet. A girl so lonely and vulnerable was always ready to take her clothes off. Wonder what it is I mean where you draw the line between a girl you love and a girl who's easy. Vulnerability? Loneliness? Why is it that vulnerability always becomes a target for attack and exploitation, let alone care? The guy who judged Yuri and called her a slut said she'd go crazy for anyone as long as they had a dick, but that wasn't the case. The way I see it, Yuri went crazy for literally anyone. And since Jane is now without a job and nothing else to do, that one comment made her impulsively go back to her old campus in the fictional city of Anjin. There she uncovered some secret about the campus and about the fact that there might be a monster disguised as man in her old campus. The main character Jenny is actually quite a well-written, unlikable character. She's indecisive, has low self-esteem, doesn't give herself enough credit for her action, and she had a great difficulty communicating what she wanted to say to other people, which creates most of the conflict in the book. I think the part of the book that describes her personality really well is this. How do they do it? How does finding happiness come so naturally to them? For me, the only thing that comes naturally is self-pity. And she is a frustrating character like that. But I think too much of the character has some similarity with her difficulty in communicating part. Most of the characters in the book either cannot communicate well enough what they want or are mostly using masks to hide their true selves, so they did not communicate properly either. And because of that, there's not enough variety in the characters. And this is despite the changing perspective of the storytelling. Most of the time we see the story from Jenny's perspective, but the story also changes perspective multiple times to other characters. Mainly Sunji's perspective, but also sometimes the other character perspective like Dong-hee or Kan-yoon for one time only. These perspective changes are used in the most convoluted way. For example, we see the present from Jina's perspective, then we see the past from Jina's perspective, then we see the present from Sujin's perspective, then we also see the past from Sujin's perspective, we also then go to the present from Sujin's perspective, but it's before the present from Jina's perspective. Then we move to Dong-hee's perspective, which is in the time before the past and the present. It's written in a way to make the story feels more mysterious, but instead it makes the story all over the place. And this kinda make the plot unnecessarily convoluted, which is a shame since there are some well-written characters in here. Gina is at first not an unlikable character, just a frustrating one in ways that people with low self-esteem can be. But the story that follows shows a lot of her mistakes due to her own insecurities that make her lie and make up stuff to hurt others. Dong-hee is a narcissistic douchebag that the more the story opens up, the more obvious how much of a narcissist he is. He is aware of things that are wrong. When other people did it, he knows that it's wrong, but when he did it, somehow he thinks it's the right thing to do, since he's an entitled person with no self-awareness. Then Sunjin is someone that deals with problems in her life by ignoring them, by pretending they never happened in the first place. But despite some of this great character writing, overall the book can be a slog to read because each time a new character that will only appear once came out, we often get a long dialogue that try to explain who they are as a character instead of letting the scene explain it for us. It doesn't help that all the main cast are unlikable characters and the perspective thing is a mess. It also didn't have the charm of Dark Academia. From my experience, what makes Dark Academia charming to read is the friendship that the main character builds when they found a connection to a small group of friends. We see them grow closer to each other from the start of the book until usually an incident happens to the group and their bond starts to unravel. The Secret History and Babel, for example, have this. But in this book, everyone sucks from start to finish. Each time we go back to the past, we only see them in conflict. There's nothing that has changed from the past to the present each time we see them. The characters do say that they were once close or something, but the only thing we see is them at each other's throats, whether it's in the past or it's in the present. I'm kinda shocked that these people haven't stabbed each other with how much they hate each other for years. I wish we see more of them being close with each other in ways that are not just because the author said so. I kinda wish the story focused more on the main characters so that we can get a more cohesive story overall. While the topic that the author brings up is a lot of problems that are real, but a lot of them also doesn't connect that well narratively because it's so all over the place. There are even a few chapters that felt like they barely had anything to do with the story, or more precisely, it felt like part of a different chapters or books being cut and pasted into the story. As a result, it feels like the author are rushing each individual character problems and make them have less impact, which is a shame because domestic violence, harassment, and feminist contemporary novel being looked down in academia world is a real problem that are not just in modern Korea. Although the book does focus on how much it is a huge problem in South Korea that are buried under just Korean fever escapism contents. If anyone know or still remember, there was a case in South Korea regarding Gwangwoo Inhwa School that have a lot of proven sexual allegations to their students. Not only the victims are children, but they are also disabled people since the school is open for deaf-mute welfare center. These are kids that cannot hear or speak or run away. These allegations are proven to be true. 6 of the teachers and even the principal of the school has abused tens of their students. But the repercussions of their action are very light and they are still teachers at the same school years after the incidents. It was not until the case got to public attention due to the movie Silence that finally the abuse of the children can be stopped. And this is just one single big case that made a result because it was made into a movie. Most of these cases goes under the radar. So much was also needed for the case to go public. The school has been around since the 60s, but it was only thanks to a newly appointed teacher that won't stay silent about it that we found out about the school situation from around 2000s. And even then, the trial was in 2005 and the movie came out in 2011. So even after a trial was done proving everything, there was somehow still 6 years of torture that the students from the same teacher that has been put through public trial and will need to let go of their anger somewhere, most likely the children. So unfortunately, books like Another Person still need to find its place in public eye. I just wish it is better written. I give this a 2.75. What do you think? Are you gonna read it? Did I miss anything? Leave your thoughts in the comment below and subscribe to the channel. That's about it.